All right, we're good.
Great. And I don't know that I can, do we have any members of the public?
We do not.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining CB4's Budget Task Force meeting, the second of this 2 of 3 scheduled for this season. We are recording, and while we don't have any members of the public joining us now, we will look forward to having any additional participation. And I believe, as I may have mentioned, we may have some people who were, because we had to move the time, some folks who may be able to join us in a little bit. Leslie, as an example, who may be joining us. For the purposes of today's meeting, we have two things we're hoping to cover. One is briefly the statement of district needs, which is really just to say that you all now have a copy of this of the working document. I think Al and I received an email from you last night noting that maybe one section hasn't been updated, so I'll be sure to take a look at that and hopefully get an updated draft back out. But would encourage everyone to take a look. You can look at it with or without track changes, depending on how brave you want to be. There's a fair amount of moving things around. But I think the primary thing to bring your attention to is really the change that was made to the priority areas. And in particular, you'll note that starting on page, really officially on what I believe is page 8, which says overall most pressing issues. But even to just take a bit of a step back, reflecting on the kinds of things the board has heard over the last year, as well as the survey results that came back in from the survey we did open to the community. Overwhelmingly, I would say the topics that were highlighted in the survey responses, which totaled more than 400, were issues of crime and public safety. And that was followed by quality of life issues, then affordable housing and land use and social services, cleanliness, followed by social services and homelessness. So Christine actually very helpfully prepared a bit of a Wordle, kind of highlighting some of the, Jeffrey, you can't contain that excitement.
I mean, I love that she does these. It's a whole new tool. I think it's extremely useful. So I'm excited.
Great. So we have a Wordle, but we also have just a breakdown, like more of a geometric breakdown tool, which is also to expand our toolkit, very helpful. So we will circulate that back out, and obviously we'll look to produce all these results and share with full board, as well as each of the committees. I'll be going through and breaking down all the specific responses by committee and sharing that back out, so that as committees look to tackle certain issues over the year ahead, they can use this as a guide as it relates to what our community is saying is most important to them. But seeing both the nature of our discussions on our last call, what we've heard from the board or at the board over the last 12 months, combined with these survey results, I think we really are left with clear guidance on altering our priorities for this year. And so as you'll see in the statement of district needs, I have added public safety and essentially removed the language around neighborhood preservation. I've added some narrative as well. I'm certainly open to feedback. I think probably unless there's substantive feedback about why we're doing this, I think specific edits are probably best sent to me. Just send them to me and I will work them in or work with them. If there's substantive questions about, are we ready to do this? Then I think we should have those now. Does anyone have any feedback about the priorities or the document? Yeah.
Jeffrey. I just want to confirm that we see these in the track changes in the MCB4, SDN, and budget requests in the FY 2023
yes.
district needs, right?
You should, yes.
Okay, got it. Perfect.
Any other comments about the document? Again, specific edits, feel free to send to me. I'm happy to work them in, no pride of authorship. Not all of them are mine. Some of them I just made because people sent documents. So just to be clear, like if you sent me your track changes somewhere else, I've tried to work them in here. Otherwise, I think the best use of our time for the remainder of this meeting is to focus on the capital requests, which Jesse has compiled in the Dropbox for us based on all the committee responses and meetings over the last week, or last few weeks, excuse me. And I just want to point out that most of the committee responses, most of the budget responses in capital don't necessarily connect to the issue of public safety. So we're both saying this is a priority, but it's probably not going to be the focus of our discussion right now. Just by nature, there aren't very many capital requests that are connected to this topic. So today it sounds like we're comfortable.
Jessica?
Yes?
Jessica, this is Dolores. I did want to point out, though, that, it's very hard to figure out the capital side of public safety unless we're talking about, building a new hospital. So I don't know that that inconsistency is really going to damage our credibility because we don't really have any sites for us to be building these things. But I think that on the expense side, that's where we really have to focus on how the social service angle really aligns with the public safety needs.
100%. Jesse and I were just speaking about this earlier, where I think from our perspective in complete agreement. I just more wanted to point that out to the group, only because, in one breath, we're affirming it as a priority, and then we're going to spend the next hour and 15 minutes not really addressing it, and just wanted to make that clear why that's happening. But I totally agree with you. Okay, so with that, Jesse, are you comfortable? We didn't quite plot this out, but sharing your screen and we'll go through.
Sure. Just give me 1 second to make sure that's my screen is where it's supposed to be. Okay. Does everybody see that? Okay. So what I did was I took the first ranking order set of priorities from everybody that sent me, revised capital requests from each agency and put them in, all the ones together, all the twos, all the threes, all the fours. I went all the way down until we ran out. So you'll see on the far right, you'll see the committee. That's the new column, just to mark out which committee submitted this. And then the rest of the columns going to the left are all sort of very similar to what we've always seen, right? Agency, priority, request, reason, and agency. Unfortunately, I did not, Maria, I don't think I got the HHS stuff when you sent it to me earlier today. So I didn't have and I don't think I was gonna have the time to submit it into this, but I put a placeholder for it so we can either shoot it in real quick here, and so at least then we can note it. I can know which one we're talking about, and then we can, when we rearrange everything later, we can make it work. But this is basically it. And so you guys, it's up to you guys how you want to do it, but I think, I'm sorry, I got to move my you guys around here for a little bit. I'm looking at where we end up with. Typically, they like us to end around 40. So, if we just obviously included everything right now, we're clearly over. But
that's 40 requests, not continuing support, or that's inclusive of continuing support?
No, that's not including continuing support. Continuing support is technically an entirely different list.
Okay, so if everyone's I think we should just walk through these one by one. Maybe we'll let's do the ones. Did want to just put in the first from Maria for capital, or for, Sorry.
Yeah, the number one is the RFP site. The Harborview site. On 55th and 10th for funding for that. Oh, you got it? Thanks.
And actually just
No, it's the one for it's the RFP site. I keep saying the RFP site, but it's for the RFP. That
The
one.
RFP, got it. I understand.
Yeah, sorry.
So yeah, no, that was a slip on my part. I didn't mean to change that. That just popped up because it, yeah.
So just so everybody else knows, and Maria, maybe you want to share more about this. The list from HHHS is actually going to look very different this year as a result of the nitrogen working group and the recommendations that have been adopted. And so, well, Maria, do you want to share more about that?
I would just say that the items that had to do with Fulton and Chelsea Elliott have been removed because of RAD and what's happening with that. And it's so what it. I'm not the most well versed in explaining this to you all. However, because of that process, it sounds like those items will get funded, basically, putting it simply. So all the other items that have to do with Harborview Terrace, the slaughterhouse site, et cetera, will be still on the list here.
And just so everyone else knows, the I guess compendium piece to that is that the motivation to continue implementing the work of the NYCHA work group now goes into our statement district needs, as this is a priority that needs to be actualized, but no longer has an associated budget request since it is funded elsewhere. Okay, so just want to remind everyone, we've said the priorities are housing, or three top priorities, I should say, are housing, public safety, and traffic and air quality. And now we can go to this list. So just starting from the top, expand funding for reliable high-speed Wi-Fi, recognizing that internet and Wi-Fi infrastructure is inadequate. That's one. Two, fulfill the city's commitment to install ADA compliant ramps at intersections. Three is shore power. Four is Harborview. And five is bathroom. Oh no, sorry, that's four. It's four, excuse me.
Yeah, so we only, Clinton Hell's Kitchen land use didn't submit anything this year. And Clue only had expense, and BLP had expense. So we'll see much more from those committees in the other section.
So I'm just going to throw out a straw man, if that's helpful. People can react. Housing being our first priority, I would move that up.
Yep. Am I on?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say, I think there's a question with trans in schools. Last year, if you remember, we emphasized the need around schools because of COVID, even though it wasn't our top three items. I think there is sort of a moment and a time sensitivity and like interest in solving this issue in light of what remote work has meant. Obviously, this is for in-school use. But I think there is still a moment with which education is top of mind, and it may be beneficial to prioritize. So I might put that 2, potentially 3. Do folks have feedback?
Sounds good to me. I'll take the second position.
Jessica, I'm sorry, I missed
Order third. I can take the
education
third position on that.
number you were saying to move up.
I was saying let's keep education. I was proposing 2 or 3. Alan's, of course, not surprisingly voting for 2 there. But just
I'll
in
take the
line with
third
that.
slot. I think it's important to get. I think it's important to get ADA people as quick as possible.
Okay.
The schools may have access to do things on their own, but we need to prioritize that.
Okay, so housing,
Specific aspect.
trans, and then school.
ACES can take the third position on that one.
Okay.
I agree with that.
My gosh, civility.
Don't jinx us, Jeffrey.
I know, you're right. You're right, Jessica. I'm sorry.
What did y'all drink before this meeting?
Don't knock the
No.
rock. Don't knock the rock.
Okay, we'll go to the next grouping. Nothing has to necessarily, I think last year we grouped within and then grouped again, or can folks have opinions on that strategy?
I think, yeah, we went through and did sort of a full run and then went back and repositioned, I thought.
So would that mean doing all the twos, prioritizing all the twos? Okay, so.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think at some point, right? I mean, we have 40, and I think obviously if we catch something that is significantly out of place, but I think we should really, I think what we normally do is we sort of hit around 15 to, around 15, really worry about like place order, and then kind of the rest, as long as everybody's sort of generally okay with the rest being, the second half kind of, being a mixed bag of everybody's stuff. So that's how we usually end up doing it. But
okay, so let's just add.
So that means in the twos section, Jesse, we would start with like number 5, right? Our priority would be continuing the list of where we were, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I visualized it, as being like, right, where this is second tier, what's the highest second tier thing that we want,
Okay, I do want to, sorry, Jesse, I think there was an error, unless I completely misunderstood. I think Harbor View.
You're right, sorry.
Is number 1.
I made a mistake, yeah.
Okay, thanks. And then, thank you. Oh wait, Harbor View's 1.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
Sorry.
you. That's okay. And then the new 2 for housing is elevators at Harbor View. Yeah. Which just folks should also remember, we also have an expense request, which we'll get to next week, but we also have an expense request related to this issue, which is maintenance workers, to address the challenges there. Okay, so we have renovating staff bathrooms, convert painted pedestrian islands, full park renovation, and elevators. So sticking with our order, I would make elevators 5. I would make pedestrian islands 6, school 7, and park 8.
I would ordinarily, yes.
You would not agree.
I know.
Take out ordinarily.
The Do It Clinton was a specific agency ask. It would be nice. The Parks Committee had only 1 win last year. It would be nice to see something in the park space up there. So if I wonder if folks would consider switching, what did we have? Well, Do It was the park was last, and you had suggested
I had suggested schools, the bathrooms followed by the park. Staff bathrooms and water fountains.
Jeffrey, when they say a full renovation, can you just go over what that list might be at Do It? Is that?
Yeah, I have to say, Alan, I was pleasantly surprised to see parks asking for this. I didn't realize that playground, while it's in reasonable condition, it's like 30 years old. I'm not sure if you've been to the back of Do It, but there's the handball courts, there's basketball courts, there's a lot of space that could be receive a much better treatment and use of the space, and design from a design perspective, and just modern day use of the park. There's also been a lot, I mean, Dolores can speak to this too, the times when there was a nascent Friends of Do It group that was coming into being, and it's been a really hard thing to sort of capitalize on and get to take off, but the discussions around Do It renovations have been lengthy.
Yeah. Is this the one that includes that dog park they've been fighting over also? The dog run or something?
Steve would not, Jesse, Steve wouldn't include dog park on this, right?
He fought you on it.
You
So
what?
he was sort of forcing me to keep the dog park separate.
Oh,
I have a
We don't have to listen to him.
Hi, this is Dolores. So Jeffrey, you are correct. There's been a lot of gardeners, et cetera, and folks that have advocated for, for general improvements at the park. However, I think considering that a full renovation of DeWitt Clinton is probably extremely low on the Parks Department's list, that's the only reason why I wouldn't switch it out with education, because we really need to press for education, considering everything that's happened through the pandemic and all the additional issues that those schools have. That's my only reason why I wouldn't want to switch that.
That's fair. I guess the fact that the agency asked us to support this, I thought was grounds for greater consideration. And Jesse, just to confirm, the only item for Parks Department, this would still be Parks Department's number one, because shore power technically would go to EDC, correct? Once we siphon everything out, this would still land as part. Okay, so then I'm fine with that, Dolores. Thank you for that. As long, I mean, that was just from my on that. Obviously, welcome to other folks suggesting otherwise, but I think Jessica's original order on these makes sense now.
I would move elevators at Arborview ahead of the transportation number 2.
So elevators is 5, transportation is 6.
Where's that? I don't see it. I see convert painted pedestrian island. Where I see it.
Yeah, we're still ranking that as your second request. So it will what Jessica's recommendation is that it'll go after the elevators. So,
but before the park.
yes.
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
So Jesse, can we change? So Harborview is 5.
Can you change the numbers, right?
Yeah,
I'm changing.
convert pedestrian is 6.
What you can do is do 2A, 2B, 2C or something like that, so you don't have to change everything.
That's going to make it. If everybody's all right, I wouldn't mind just sticking with what I was doing, if that's okay.
All right.
So I'm sorry. So Jessica, you had elevators as 5. Then you had
painted pedestrians, row 7 becomes 6. And then we have the one above it as 7. And now 2 down is 8. I just also had one question. I just want to make sure our first priority is Harborview for funding the RFP. The second is the elevators at Harborview. I just want to confirm there's no opportunity or strategy to combining those asks.
No. So so the RFP is an entirely. I mean, you mean is there any way of combining on our end?
I mean, I can see why we wouldn't want to combine them based on my understanding of the topics. I just want to make sure, meaning like an RFP is now many years away from actually making any changes. So we want to still have the elevators.
Yes.
Also, do we not want something more tangible that can happen and impact people like sooner, which is elevators first versus an RFP, which is second, which has a longer lead? I'm just thinking of the relationship between those two asks, which are both very important to us and for the same site.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So what Jessica, I see what you're saying. You say we have Arborview looks like number 1 on our list, but then the elevators are number whatever, 8
5
or 7. And should we switch those two, right?
Yeah, I'm like, yes, I'm asking, should we switch them? I was asking, should we combine them or should we switch their priority order? What is the strategy around Harborview that we should be trying to have these budget requests support?
Well, I think.
Yeah, go ahead, Maria.
Well, I was just going to say that, the very first item is for HPD, and that's about funding a development there that's been talked about, I think, at least 10 years. I could be mistaken. I haven't been on the board for 10 years, but it sounds like it's been discussed for a really long time, and I think it should remain number 1. The elevators would be done in the other buildings at the Harborview site. So there's a development for HPD, and then there's the elevators in the NYCHA building, in the Harborview building themselves. I don't know if I'm
Which
clear
agency?
about that.
Which
Which
agency?
that would be NYCHA.
Yeah. So I think.
Okay.
I mean, I think the elevators are a significant capital, priority for the current residents there right now. The RFP is stalled under this administration, and so we want to make it a priority to get it, back moving again.
We can go back to that and think about it, right?
Okay.
Once we
Really,
have the whole
really
list.
just like two simultaneous activity. They're completely different focus. One is for the existing structures and one is something in the future. And I just find it difficult to say, one is more important than the other. What criteria do you use? If you use the criteria of which will we get first, more than likely we'll get elevators first, then an RFP and new construction way down the road.
Well,
I mean, I agree with that, but my assumption about this process is that we're picking in terms of what we represent the community and what the community would view as the priority. Is it going to be the elevators or is it going to be more affordable housing? That's my understanding of how we pick the priorities.
And
Okay.
what is,
Not which one is going to get funded first. And if I'm mistaken, please let me know.
And if you're putting it in that context, I agree. RFP first.
If
I
I'm
think
mistaken, though,
Christine-
let me know.
I think Christine is right. I think we can come back to it.
Right.
I don't want us to lose momentum here.
Okay.
So we have I just want to add in the third housing is adequate capital subsidy for the multifamily preservation loan program.
Thanks.
Just
one?
MPLP and Sarah, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Say what are the acronyms again?
MPLP
And Sarah. Jesse, I did send you this.
I know, but it was like 40 minutes before the meeting.
All right, maybe it was, okay.
can somebody
so
explain
folks-
what this is?
Yes, so just so folks remember, this is about, I believe isn't this about adequate capital subsidy so the buildings can be, like, the buildings already exist, right?
We have two parts of it. One is that we have land use. Clinton House Kitchen land use has long been in support of projects in our district. The addresses escape me. They're in the West 50s. One is an MPLP.
500 West 52nd, 464 West 25th, and 560 West 52nd.
Yeah, and so the Sarah is a senior housing program. I forget what MPLP stands for. But it's multifamily, right? Multifamily. Yeah. And so this has been a long-standing thing from both land use and housing, actually.
Okay.
And I will say I've long I don't know, this particular item frustrates me that it continues to dominate our list, but I'll leave it at that.
Well,
Okay, so
changing
just to go
topics,
through,
changing real topics real quickly, Jeffrey, can we make, is there a reason why you split out the dog run here from the rest of the rehab?
Because the committee specifically had called for that, right, as its own action letter and item. So I think that it was wanted to be front facing. I think I would happily fold it into the full ask higher up in the list, provided that it is inclusive. We specifically say including the dog run.
Right.
Which means we combine and ask, which gives us more ways to add to our budget priorities, frankly. So yes.
Well, if they say they are not going to do it, you're better off having them split, no?
I mean,
What's the
They're
problem?
going to come back. They are going to come back and tell you, okay, we're doing this and we're not doing that.
No,
You can put it back
Christine,
on the
from what
list.
from what I recall, when we had the discussion about this dog run, the Parks Department is very happy, no, well, happy, but they're very willing to renovate the dog run. The problem seems to be that this dog run group wants to have it done in a particular way that the Parks Department feels is not appropriate for a dog run. So from what I recall, Parks Department did not have a problem
Oh, okay.
in the conversation about doing this dog run.
No, it was actually that they do have a problem with it because there's no organized Friends of DeWitt dog run, and they prioritize dog parks that have a friends group, basically.
Oh, okay, I didn't know, I didn't realize it.
Because
We
there
do
was
have some
no
sort of a group, they
specific
just don't want to get on.
direction. I'm sorry, Alan?
There is a group, except they're at odds with the Parks Department on how to do it, right?
Correct, and the Parks
Maybe
Department is like working with a particular individual.
So
in that group.
if we combine it and then bring the
Okay,
group
but-
in and then hammer out a way to do it somehow, you know? Later
Okay,
on, 'cause
I'd like
Okay,
to
it's
put
not
out a
getting
straw
getting
man for
done.
this. Sorry?
it's not gonna get done for who knows how long. They still have to, is there money allocated at this point for it, or they have to find the money and the scope keeps getting bigger and they need more funding, so it's not gonna happen next year, right? I don't think.
No.
So we still have time to like bring the groups together and say, all right, this is how we're gonna do the dog run, and we still have that, that plan to do the whole park all together, so.
Yeah, all right, I'm reconvinced. Let's leave them separate, please.
Okay. With
Because we
that,
could
I'm gonna-
also, one is a win, we could get a win out of one sooner than the other, so.
But here's the situation. I don't know what kind of underground work they have to do in that park, but if they don't do the dog run at the same time that they're doing underground water, you're not gonna get any kind, it's gonna be more difficult now to get water hooked into that. It's gonna be a much bigger deal than just repaving the surface. So if you do it as a whole project, you can get water into the park at this point. Into the dog run.
Okay, with the idea of keeping them separate, at least for right now, I'm gonna put out a suggested order based on feedback and discussions. I'm gonna prioritize basket service as number 9, MTA as number 10, the housing funding 11, and dog run 12. Any concerns with that proposal?
I mean, you should do the housing before the MTA.
Did somebody drug Christine?
No, but I mean,
I know, I tease
41st Street and 10, our chances of getting that is so low.
The station, I know, these asks are so
Okay,
significant.
so
Plus,
9,
the public told us that's their priority. So, you have to,
Right, exactly.
you have to follow what the public is telling you.
Yeah,
okay, so basket 9, housing, the MLPL is 10, MTA 11, dog park 12.
And now we're not going to talk, well,
Maybe this is what you were
Yeah.
going to say, Christine. I don't know. What I was going to say is I think that 9 needs to eventually move up.
right, exactly. I was going to say that, but I think we may have more, so we may want to look at it once you have done a first round, right?
Exactly. I think we should do at least the next round of priorities, and then let's do another review of everything. Trying to also be mindful of time.
Question.
Yeah, I mean, I also, just real quickly, this not about this, is that there's a huge amount of sanitation expense requests by both WPE that overlap with ACEs as well. And so I could see those being very high because there's 2 committees saying the same kind of very similar things. So that kind of adds the advocacy plus the community survey. So I just throw that out there about moving
That's
sanitation stuff on capital, because we're going to have plenty to say about it in expense.
Yeah, that's helpful.
I was wondering, I have a question. I mean, they're like the basket. I'm sure there's overlap in other sanitation items. The basket, what we're asking for is capital, but if we want more baskets, that you can't have more baskets without more staffing. And that's expense budget items. So I just hope we're aware of that and we're coordinating our ask.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we are.
Because you can't have one without the other.
No, we definitely.
So
Yeah.
for housing, I just want to mention number 4 for housing is funding for the roof repair, boiler upgrade, building entrance for Harborview Terrace and the emergency exit doors. I'm just wondering that how come that's separate from the elevators?
Yeah,
Was it separated before?
It was.
Okay,
It was. And I'm just wondering if we,
because I believe that there's a specific line, budget request line for elevators. And then there's other repairs.
oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, so while Jesse's putting those in, we're now looking at,
so this one should be moving first, right? First of this batch.
We're looking at 4, yeah, rank 4 ranking.
yep, so just to run through them, it's security cameras, the Brooklyn Chelsea Ferry expansion, and renovating Penn South basketball court, followed by the additional Harborview repairs. So
I think the Harborview repairs should be first, weren't they? They were very high last year.
Is it because Fulton is getting, is it because Chelsea and Fulton are getting a whole bunch of new money out of the convert that
all of
we
these are
don't have
Harborview.
them?
Yeah,
Okay. Jessica and I apologize. I read the notes, but not in detail. Do we note that in our, okay, good. Thank you.
So the statement of district needs makes an emphasis on the execution of that plan, and the removal of these from budget items. But it does lead to like this concentration of Harborview topics.
Like because usually we obviously have to decipher all 3.
Exactly.
So, okay,
Yeah.
good.
And that was about number 10 last year.
So again,
There's a real world ability to this too, Jeffrey, just so you know, that we had a Fulton request into the Brad's money. If you remember, it was the sump pumps for Fulton. And it ended up at the end of the day, NYCHA won't even do the project because they're in the middle of this RFP thing. So this is where they're putting all of their eggs. So it would kind of be a waste, unfortunately.
so did we use the money for something else?
We can talk about that another
yeah,
day. That's a whole nother.
we hope to be. We hope to be.
We hope.
Yeah, I have a question for those on the committee who are certainly more knowledgeable than I am of the RAD process. Now, the RAD is maintenance, new management, but does the RAD process also include, do they shift off capital improvements to the new management, or is that still remaining a housing authority responsibility?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because the housing authority remains the owner of the property.
I think it's the new, wouldn't it be the new developer who's doing
Yeah,
the renovations of the NYCHA buildings?
I don't know the RAD process in and out, but the way I understand it, the people coming in who are going to be hired to be management, I don't know what the extent of, if there's a division of responsibility, we'll do capital.
Bert,
We're not prepared to, I don't think, have that anything as a budget request at this time, but that's something that
reflects on, do we mention specifically capital improvements for Fulton and Chelsea?
No, the capital improvement is funded by the RAD.
Yeah.
Are you sure of that?
Yeah,
Yes.
All kinds of capital improvements.
yeah.
Well, I'm just asking.
Joe and Betty were felt very strongly that capital requests for those projects needed to come out because they were being funded elsewhere.
Okay, so if they need a new roof, the new management takes care of that, not housing.
So I agree with Christine. Harborview repairs should be first in this section.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks, Maria. So let's throw out Harborview, followed by the schools, followed by the ferry, followed by the basketball court.
Jessica, I'm sorry, you're doing the numbering. Kind of, what is that number for you?
Oh, it would be Harborview would be 13. Again, just throwing it out there. Schools would be 14. Ferry would be 15. Although I might put the ferry before schools, but, and then the basketball court is 16.
Jeffrey, what do you feel?
I'm a little torn.
I think the school, the security cameras are really important, right?
Need to go up.
Yeah. Okay. And then 16, okay.
Switch
So-
them, 14 and 15. No big
Yeah.
deal.
That's good.
So everybody's good with that. And Leslie, welcome. I think I heard you buzz a bit ago, but I'm just seeing your face now.
Dolores had to jump off. She apologizes, but she's unfortunately got a conflict.
Of course, thank you. Maria, can you add in? Yeah.
Well, I think I may have sent something different. What I have next on my list in front of me says continued support for the slaughterhouse site, the RFP for that. But
Is that
what
but do
you have,
do you have other capital requests underneath that?
I'm sorry, but for capital, I think it's it's the DEP and the MTA site. I don't think we did that, or did we do that already? I'm getting a
Sorry,
little confused.
on your list, Maria, I have the new item being capital subsidy for Hartley.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's a new item. That makes sense. Thank you.
That would be this one.
That makes sense. Except
Okay,
I just put it as a new item. I didn't put it in a place order, but
Okay, so while the
Okay.
others here are
and
Manhattan.
Hartley House, I'm sorry, it's Hartley House funding. It's for the supportive housing site. That's for seniors at Hartley House.
So the others in this category that we're prioritizing within is the roof repair for Manhattan Bridges. The DOT, it's the changes to 9th Avenue between 34th and 55th.
Yeah, you can move that down.
I think we should be worried about Christine.
Just to be clear, Christine is going to
Yeah.
come back like a monster at expense. So just
She's
She's
holding up.
saving it, she's saving it for later.
Yeah.
I'm just so objective, you know?
if you listen real
Yeah,
carefully,
yeah.
you can hear the knives being sharpened in the back.
No, there is one thing I want to move up, but we'll do it later.
Yeah.
But this, I think the PS11 should be moved up as well, right? It's an ADA access. Those
Okay,
two
well, let's
things
stick with
should be-
fives. So we'll
Where
do,
is
let's say Hartley, let's say the school, and then,
the school again.
oh, and then you'd well, you're switching categories now. You're
Well,
going,
let's not do that right now.
okay, so Hartley would
Oh,
be,
6, I'm sorry, I mixed up. Okay,
Jesse, Hartley would be in this
Yeah.
idea, Hartley would be 17. I'm proposing schools be 18.
This is the Manhattan Bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jeffrey, how you feel about the bathrooms as compared to this.
yeah, we should move the bathroom ahead of the 9th Avenue.
So 19 is the bathroom, followed by 20, though we can anticipate that the next set will.
It's going to cost you guys.
I know. I'm telling you guys are just watch out.
We're just like bait, yeah, okay.
Christine is her own good guy, bad guy.
Okay, so sixes are PS 111, followed by the park of Gertrude Kelly, and there's no 6 on the list you sent, Maria, there was no additional, but beyond continuing support, which it just goes at the end anyway.
Correct.
So I think, Jesse, we can delete that line unless, Maria, you're working off of something else.
Nope.
Great.
Perfect. Thank
So
you.
with that, we'll do PS 111 as 18, followed by renovation of Park 19.
So
Everyone okay with that?
I thought we're at 20. We're 21.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at I'm sorry. I probably screwed you up there.
I
18.
think so, right? I think we're at
You're
20.
right. I was looking at the one right before it. So 21 and 22. Okay, then we have Rooftop Garden.
I thought it was finished. I went and cut the ribbon.
Well, that seems pretty finished. Stephanie, you know anything about that?
We went to cut the ribbon about 3 years ago.
Where is this?
That's PS51, the roof.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that's fine.
You sure you sure it was PS51?
Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
This
according
is the one that
according
needed the
to,
architect, right? This is the one that's something about the architect.
yeah, no one knows who's gonna, the architect doesn't know who's gonna pay him, or her, whoever it is.
Oh,
mean,
so it's finished, but it's not paid.
Well, then maybe we don't need to worry about it. That's not our problem.
In an unusual twist of events.
What?
Okay, can we just,
Christine wants her big scissors back then. If
This is hysterical.
okay, can we maybe just move that to the bottom and figure out?
Yeah,
why don't we do
Yeah.
continued support? Can I make that suggestion?
Great.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
that's a good idea.
Okay, so now we're repaid sidewalk and elevator replacement at West 18th Street.
No, 49th Street.
Yeah, you're combining two sidewalk.
Wait,
Repair
Number
sidewalk.
7, there's a blank on number 7.
What is that?
So this is Jeffrey. I need to talk. Jeffrey, can you put this
What
in?
is repaved sidewalk is where?
It says
Okay,
re-
so this
repaved-
is particularly annoying because the school, it's on the north side of 49th between 9th and 10th. It is technically in front of a school, but the Parks Department is responsible for the schoolyard and sidewalk here. You could drown in the pool the pond that gets created in this sidewalk. I definitely think this needs to stay on our list.
Okay.
It's a major sidewalk factor.
Okay,
So it's dangerous.
It
Yeah,
is.
dangerous,
I mean,
yeah.
so the reason this is where it is on our list is because we sort of explained where it is dangerous, Christine. And if this moves up overall, I think that goes to show, just like we typically prioritize ADA stuff,
Right.
this makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Just we felt comfortable with where it was, given how once all these are removed and go to the individual agency, where they fall on the list.
Well, and have you talked to DPR yet?
Yeah,
way-
they asked for this.
What?
the
The
way
park
this-
department? Okay.
I mean, the thing
They
is-
had
Sorry.
they had this on their list of requests for us to support, asking them.
Okay.
So
So you're
it's
doing-
going to be DOT though, just to be clear, because what happens with these deals is same thing with DOE and NYCHA, is that the agencies give the DOT a short list, and then the DOT goes out and uses their team or their vendor or whatever you want to call it, their contract, to get it done.
No, but the first point of contact is going to be the parks. And then the parks give it to DOT, right? If we put that on DOT, they are not even going to know about it.
Here's my issue. I don't, again, we'll have to do a little more research on this, Jeffrey. It's a school with a playground from a park. I'm going to put it under other right now, because I don't know if there's actually a place for that in the Parks Department budget line stuff. So I'll keep it under parks.
Well, but Jesse, the parks is generally responsible for the sidewalks in front of the park.
Yeah, okay. I'll
So
find
I think
a
you
home
can
for it.
leave it on parks. That makes
No, we're
sense.
going to keep it in the Parks Department. I'm just saying the actual request language. I'll find a home for it.
Okay.
But it'll be in parks. Okay, so going on with the 8s. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is not the 8s. This is the 7s. I'm sorry, Jessica, can you?
Well, this would be 23 because it's only
23?
7 in a way.
All right, great.
And then 24, yeah,
So then we have elevator replacement, renovate playground.
right.
So listen, I will say
24.
this. Can I say this though? The elevator replacement for this school is going to be an enormous project. It's and so far SCA has no signs, shown no signs of it getting, moving forward. So in terms of just saying, if there's something, if Jeffrey, if you feel there's momentum behind this in any way, or specifically an agency, or an agency that's working with us saying, yes, please, we'll work with you and trying to get this funded, then I it's not a big jump, obviously, we can maybe move it up later, but in terms of compared the two projects,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, I just, that's my suggestion.
24 is the playground and 25 is the elevator.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know if you want to keep the elevator, at 25. I mean, again,
Well, yeah, but we'll talk about, we can move
Yeah.
it, big shifts around later.
yeah, because, that,
Okay. We don't have a ton of time.
you just
so-
explained, Okay,
Okay,
fine.
next.
Okay, so Jesse, you're gonna delete that one.
Yeah.
And then if you can scroll up a bit, thank you. So then we have a security alarm at PS11, followed by recreation equipment, but I'm not sure for where. Jeffrey, would you remember where that's for? Sorry, we can come back to you. Followed by expanded funding to auditorium upgrade project at the high school. But now we're even mixing 9s and 10s here. But I guess I would prioritize school. I don't know, maybe school fitness.
This is a previous year's ask, and it's generally comes from the idea that like fitness equipment in parks is very outdated and there's been no replacement or improvement. So
Yeah, but I think the request should be specific to a given park rather than a generic like that. I think I would remove that. Unless you have a specific request, like if Dewitt Clinton, you were saying we want fitness equipment in there, right?
yeah, I don't think we can go that far. This comes out of Chelsea Park, I believe. The east side of Chelsea Park has fitness equipment that we're told is getting an upgrade, and we felt we wanted to keep something in there generally.
We can do a continued support.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Jeffrey, could you make this as part of that summary that goes in front of the whole section? For a general summation?
Yeah, Jeffrey, we should look at your
a general
section
statement.
in the statement of district needs and say if we want to add something about fitness equipment, modernizing, and et cetera. Okay, so then we're looking at security camera, security door at 25 and auditorium HVAC as 26.
The 25 or
Nine becomes 25.
Can you just actually scroll up for a second? I don't remember if 24 is our last number.
No, 25 is our last number, so it's
Okay,
26.
fine. Thank you. So 26, and then below continuing support is 27.
The security door at PS 11 or 20, whatever it is. It's under reconstruction and that's not included already?
I mean, these are responses from the principals, so
Okay, if it's from the principal, okay.
The construction, I think, is strictly structural. It's strictly roof and parapet and stuff. No.
Yeah, we have that issue with, same thing with Bayard Rustin, going back to the elevator project. Huge
Okay.
project on Bayard Rustin, they have nothing to do with the elevators.
Question
We had the
is-
exact same question in ACES.
Okay, thank you.
Now we're at tree pit guards, which is now our only 10, followed by elevator and HVAC at the library. Jesse, I know you have thoughts on the library. I should say you have feelings about the library.
I have emotional
Emotional.
response.
This is never ending.
It's got a story. It's a story. It's an
It's
ongoing story.
unbelievable. So just, I mean, I put it in there because they put it that as the request, and I'm being, transparent, right. So I don't know why the HVAC at the Muhlenberg Library is not done. I remember being told it was done. This is the same thing as like Christine remembering cutting a ribbon somewhere.
Right.
But what was the real surprise actually was
It's all the Truman Show.
which is not on the list at all, is the Columbus branch, which has always been kind of like the one that doesn't get any attention from libraries every time they come out and say, these are what our budget requests are. So just so we are clear that we originally have been advocating for the Columbus branch library there for the new roof because it's been leaking for years. We were very close, within $1 million at one point, and then they decided to tack on an elevator upgrade to it, which jumped it to close to $2 million. My understanding, because then this year nothing came about Columbus, they didn't list Columbus at all. Alan's seen the email train back and forth about this, saying they had literally, they were responding to me and saying that they had no history of the Columbus branch needing anything. I discovered why they didn't have any history of it, because it's been moved to emergency projects, which is another whole division under Columbus, under libraries, under New York City libraries. So the roof is getting done because it got so bad that they're using emergency funds to fix the roof, and supposedly the elevator is not a problem anymore. So that's why we have the Muhlenberg here listed. At this point, I'd rather see some old trees get some tree pits.
All right.
But then the other thing is that
I don't mean to be sound.
but we have to remove the HVAC because the HVAC thing has been going on like for 10 years. And as we said, it was done. So if they want an elevator, it's one thing, but the HVAC should be done.
But let them figure it out.
What?
Let them figure it out with the special, this other section that,
just let it get so bad that they can just get emergency funds.
That's good.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to be facetious about this, but it's a little.
All the more reason New York City needs the office of Director of the Realm, whatever they call it.
That's
somebody who
Okay,
sees
well,
everything.
for the purposes of
let's
this, are we prepared to say 28 for trees and elevator 29?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Sure.
Then we have DSNY, additional collection trucks, dual bins, and salt spreaders.
So could we amend a little bit this request based on the survey we did and the letter we got back from DOT, which said, we have a whole team of people and they come and clean the corners and they do all those things. Can we ask that they also have handheld tools to be able to do the corners? Because I don't believe they are doing it. They are doing it just manually. They don't have, snow blowers or things like that. They don't have any of that.
Mm.
So can we add just a little sentence there in your request?
Alan, that's for you. I mean, you can ask for it. I don't know. So you're looking for the sanitation to give people that they hire just for the use of snow blowers and equipment.
Yeah, the same way they have gigantic fleet of trucks just for the snow.
No, they don't.
Have to ask.
Well, we're at 29, so you're going to make that 30. We clearly have some room to breathe.
Can't hurt to ask. Sure.
I would suggest also that in asking for new equipment, we say something about they be electric vehicles.
Yes. So that's 12, right? So if you could.
Yep, 12 becomes 30.
Yeah, and we can just change a little bit.
Blake has been very vocal and done a lot of work on this. So maybe we can share your feedback, Christine, and
Yeah.
together with the feedback that Bert just gave about electric, come up with a alternate wording. Okay, so then do we need to do anything with the continuing support, Jesse, or we leave them?
No,
as-
that's all. It's all the same. There's no difference in it.
Okay.
Where it's in any ranking level. So.
Okay, so I think we acknowledge that this is a good initial take. We have, I think, maybe at most 15 minutes, but want to use this opportunity now to move up or frankly move down anything that is not worthy of being, let's say maybe let's start with the top 10.
I don't know.
Jesse, when you get a second, if you can, that's okay. Scroll up to the. Oh, can we?
My Excel is giving me a little trouble, so I can't move them around as quickly as I wanted to, and I don't want that to slow us down.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So,
But because you need to sort it first before we do it.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
he was just saying that.
Yeah, let me see if I can do that.
To click up in the corner, right? Right.
Nope.
You tell us are you coming to an agreement or they're working it out?
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's good.
Sort the first one.
Good. When you come down to me,
Yeah.
do me a favor and bring 4 or 5 bottles of 50% orange juice.
There we go.
All right.
Great. And Jesse, do you have the ability to mute Bert?
To do
I'm
what?
sorry. Yeah.
No, I want to know his grocery list.
Did he order 5 bottles of wine? Is that what
Yeah, I was waiting for what the 5 bottdos of
Exactly.
were.
At a
Okay.
minimum.
What do you mean? This hasn't been too painful. We don't need to medicate after this.
No, I agree.
Okay, so this is in current order. We have housing, transportation, schools, shore power, elevators. Transportation.
Oh my gosh, thank you for number 2. Those are such a pet, those are such a pet peeve of mine.
I knew it.
Those ramps, I can't take them.
I did it just for you.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thank you. I'll take it.
So
Can I ask, what do
Are
we
we
think
good with-
about elevators,
Slow
the
down.
elevators at Harborview above the shore power?
that was gonna be my exact question.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the shore power request.
Neither do I, but
We
it
talked
says
about this at
cruise
WP.
ship.
I actually
So-
think shore power, Jeffrey, correct me if I'm wrong. I actually think shore power should go way up, only because I don't want to say this, but we kind of know it's not going to be fulfilled, right?
Well, Leslie, hold up. It's
Go ahead.
I think the fact that it's number 4 on our overall list,
It's
we've
you.
never had an environmental ask this high before.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes,
This
I
is the
agree.
only, so like I'm very comfortable with where it is.
Yeah.
Because it's also one of our only budget requests going to specifically to EDC, if I'm not mistaken, meaning they'll get one ask from us. And so I think I think this is pretty good positioning for an
Can I ask
environmental
what-
demand.
And
I
I think it's
ask what
also
it
good
is?
as a commentary.
Shore power
Maria,
allows you.
right now, the cruise ships, when they're docked at the Manhattan cruise ship terminal, they run on their very toxic diesel fuel while they're there to keep the lights on and to provide for whatever. At the Brooklyn Red Hook terminal, EDC built a big electrical socket for the ships to plug into and draw from shore power. So what we're asking EDC to do is invest 21st century equipment into allowing ships to plug in at Manhattan Cruise Ship Terminal, which would remove upwards of 30,000 tractor trailer trucks worth of diesel particulate matter when a ship is docked there each day.
Just a small commentary is that none of the warehouses now next to the ferry or to the cruise ship terminal in Brooklyn actually have sufficient power because it's all being rerouted. So next time when we do that, we should do it better. So that doesn't happen, but
so the fact that we get to learn from Brooklyn is new because usually Brooklyn is learning from our mistakes. So, okay.
It's true. But what would you think, even recognizing the very significant impact that would have? I just want to restate Maria's question, which is, what do people think about moving 5 to 4, making shore power 5? Still in our top 5.
I mean, the only reason I'm going to push on this is because there's been more and more discussion on WPE, and I think generally across the board, how do we insert environmental policy into all of our asks? And so it was very deliberate that this was one. It's a broader policy discussion of how we get NYCHA and everybody else to approach everything with a green lens. I mean, I will cede the floor, obviously, but I think that, let's see.
I don't think anyone will be surprised that I agree with Jeffrey. I think we should have more environmental asks. I think, and I talked about this and Jeffrey gave me actually a very comprehensive answer, but I will note for the record, I'm a little disappointed that we make zero mention at all of electric charging stations for whatever reason, whether someone didn't come to give us a presentation or we're not ready, but I will concede that even though it's in the mix now. I just think we should be making more environmental pushes, and not just for the sake of it, but for just, the universal change.
Do you want to move it up above the shore power?
I'm sorry, above what, Christine? I didn't hear that.
Above the school. Expand funding for reliable hi-fi.
I mean, if you think about this, it's kind of it's a silent. It has been alarming to me with the cruise ships back as somebody I see it out my window and I go by every day.
I mean, I would put it ahead of the Wi-Fi, but
do we
at the end of the day, we all split this up. It gets broken up. It gets given, to whatever agency it is. So you want to move shore power above Wi-Fi, at the end of the day, either DOE is going to do something about it perhaps, or we get the electeds to do something about it. So nobody does anything about it. So,
we're going to do Jesse and then Maria.
Can I just make a request then? Because people are going to look at just the reason. We need to beef up that reason, Jeffrey. Right. We need to give something.
Yes. No, so, Jesse, I apologize. These came together. I'm sorry for not. I will send you. I already have an email going. Jessica, I made edits to the park section already in the district needs. So Jesse, I will also include in that email some detail on the shore power.
Yeah, just because I think people will agree with us if they see and understand the impact, the environmental impact that these things have.
Yeah, it's an environmental problem, and it's been going on for too long already. So, 100%.
Nobody recognizes the sheer volume of pollutants that it actually brings. So
sure.
Okay, so we're going to do Maria, and then we can do Leslie.
I was just going to
7 minutes.
Okay. Keeping it as brief as possible, I was just going to say the elevators at Harborview, I feel like impact people in a real concrete way if the elevators are not working and they have to take their stairs, the groceries, their little children and the strollers. So I would argue that should be more of a priority, but I do feel like now that I understand what it is, Jeffrey, thank you for explaining. I feel like that's really important too. And whether the elevators are 4 or 5 doesn't make a big difference to me. And I think the other thing that matters is also when the agency gets this list, they see how, they'll see what it says on the different agencies see it differently, right? So the agencies aren't going to see our 1 through 40. They're going to see whatever, you understand what I'm saying. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay, Leslie?
To follow up on Christine's comment, I actually would love it if we push shore power to 3. And this is my reasoning for that, because I think, Jessica, when you write, the overview, right? When you write the introduction, I think when you say our top 3 for CB4, I think it kind of jives well with our section, our community, right? We have number 1, NYCHA, housing, right? Number 2, disabled, pedestrian priorities, and number 3, environment. And I think those 3 things, when you weave them into a story, right? When you're telling what we're interested in, I think that's really powerful. Hey, we care about a lot of things, but we care about NYCHA and our public housing. We care about our pedestrians and our disabled mechanisms. And we care about the environment, which has really have been kind of pushed off. And I just think 1, 2, 3 might be a powerful weave.
Okay, I just want to clarify though,
I don't know if anyone agrees with me, but that's.
Well, just the priorities that are in the document, right, has sort of been, I'd say, agreed upon, are currently housing, public safety, and traffic and air quality. So if you want to you could make a creative argument that environment is actually public safety, not only air quality, but your point, I think it still sets a very nice top tier. It doesn't align quite.
And that's a really good point. You mentioned public safety, and I guess this is more expense. And Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember this in the last few years, but do we even have an ask about like police and manpower?
Sorry, we covered this at the beginning of the meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All of that will be an expense. But it's missing here, but it will be there presumably with all of Christine's transportation asks.
I think if everybody generally, all right, well, I don't know if everybody generally feels this way, I guess. I'll step backwards.
No, go ahead.
What's your suggestion?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying like if, I guess what I'm saying is like, I get a sense that people are feeling that shore power could be and Alan is accepting of this, is to be shore power to be number 3, right? And then it doesn't change harbor views at all because it just drops the school down 1, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean,
So we're just switching 3 and 4.
Maria, if you're comfortable with either leaving it at 5 or then having the conversation about whether the elevators are more important than the Wi-Fi.
The only reason, look, if Harborview stays at 5, I'm not gonna kick and scream about it. I do think though that schools recently got a large amount of funding. So I think it could be 5 and that'd be okay. And elevators goes up to 4. I think makes sense. And it shows as a community what we think are priorities. Really, that's what this is about, not what I personally prefer, right? So
I actually think I think we know the NYCHA elevators is a chronic issue, underfunded, and we know schools, while they still have a lot of needs and work to be done, I think that makes sense. Sabrina.
Climate change, and what position came out in the survey? I'm just curious.
I don't recall you have that, Jessica.
Environment protection, because we can make the argument that too, right? That, even though we don't have a specific ask, you can say that the community is certainly concerned about this, obviously, and also we have enough data to support that, climate change is real. But I'm just wondering if we can put that into the narrative too.
Yeah, the issues, I'd have to look back. I don't think it was its own
it wasn't
item, but I will say, just looking very quickly at the Wordle, for example, like resiliency, is something that
you can mix those two.
Yeah. So
let's
okay,
put
so
it number 3, shore power number 3.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Let's try to do the next 5 and make sure we're okay with the top 10. If we can try to do this.
Yeah, but I mean, wait, I just want to make a comment that in the survey, quality of life issues were number 2. And you could say that air quality is a quality of life issue.
One can definitely say that. We definitely see a lot of the text comments being about sanitation and rats and other things, but yes, one could definitely say that.
Jessica, that's your job.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Leslie. Okay, let's do the next 5. So we're ending with Harborview, and then we go to the
wait. So the Wi-Fi is not going to be after the elevators?
Yeah, it should be.
That's what I would.
Sorry, that's
ask
right.
If
So
we could do
shore
that.
power is 3, elevators are 4,
Right.
Wi-Fi is 5.
Yep.
Then we have painted, converting the islands into tree pits,
Yeah.
followed by staff and student bathrooms and water fountains, followed by the park renovation. The Better Bin program, and then Sarah funding. I don't know why this doesn't feel like the right order.
I don't know, Jeffrey. How do you feel about moving up the multifamily and the senior funding?
I mean, I have lost this fight every single time, and I mean, not to be, but it's one of our board members' personal pet projects, and so that's part of the reason. And I don't know.
Yes,
so one of the exercises that Christine, I learned on my first budget cycle is, where are we hitting on our buckets? And is there anything specifically for seniors higher up than this? And so I don't think there is, which Maria, in which case then sort of I'm losing my own argument here that it in fact should be moved up, because makes sense that we have kids in here, right? We've got pedestrian, air quality. Let's put the seniors a little bit higher up on the list.
Then we need to spell it out. We need to spell it out so people see that it is seniors. All this alphabet soup is not getting us anywhere.
No. So
and this wasn't the original request.
Right. The reason is actually longer. It does spell it out.
Right.
I agree. I hear you, Jeffrey. I agree with you. And then about it being a pet project of somebody on the
I don't mean pet project. I mean that it's never allowed to move from a top. Pet project is completely the wrong word. But it is.
But I know what you mean. But my point is that if we're talking about affordable housing for the community, and that consistently has been one of in the survey that we've done when we talk to people in the community. That's something that's important.
I talked myself out of my own argument of keeping it where it is. I do believe it should be moved up a little bit higher to make sure that we show that seniors are well within our priorities list.
We literally have like 3 minutes left here. We have to jump to exec. So
can I suggest though that what do people think about moving up? We already have a ACES ask, or I guess that's to DOE up above with the Wi-Fi, but we don't have anything for sanitation. What do folks think about moving up 9?
I agree.
Yeah.
You know what though, Jessica, the sanitation thing though is going to be you'll see the expense.
I know, Jesse mentioned that also.
This is like a project. What really we're getting hit hard on is is all the expense stuff. This is more like a.
Okay, so folks want to keep it. You want to
I would put it before.
What about before the park renovation at least?
Yes, because it affects so many more people, you know.
Okay, so can we make 9, 8, and 8, 9, unless there are any major objections, going once, going twice?
Done.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I think now you could send us that spreadsheet and everybody can look at it. And
okay, well, we should, before we send it, we should get the text updates, I think, so that we can really get the impact, like really absorb it in its full rationale. So Jeffrey, if you can send us your language.
Wait, are we not moving up just very quickly, are we not moving up the Sarah and the MPLP program?
I thought that was moving up.
I thought we were saying that, yeah.
Why don't we put that
Just switch
below
8.
the pedestrian? Why don't we make
instead
it
of
number
7.
7, Jesse?
Right. 10 should become 7.
Whatever they said. Yes.
Then 8.
Okay.
10.
All right, that's fine. All right.
Wait, but
So
you have to.
I'll fill in housing stuff. Maria, I'll find it. I didn't see it, but I'll find it. And Jeffrey, if you can fill in your stuff to give it a little more explanation.
Yeah, just on I'll do the DeWitt, and I'll do we're keeping DeWitt separate from the dog run, and I will provide much color on the cruise ship terminal.
Great, and we'll work with Blake to get the DSNY piece to include handheld equipment.
Yeah, I'll send him some notes and,
Yeah.
and
Oh, you will? Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me-
Okay, we reconvene.
Before you're on, isn't this bin project an expense really? I mean,
no,
it's
they have to
occupying
buy.
an important,
No,
it's
they're
occupying an
they're-
important spot there, but this is really a capital?
But
Yeah,
Jeffrey, do you know in that project whether the sanitation buys the bins or the buildings do buy the bins?
no, it's
My understanding is that the building buy the bins.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think it would make more sense for the buildings to buy them. This is
purely a sanitation pilot project. This is the whole thing shut down during COVID, and so
Mhm.
this is all with paying for a huge amount of new, once the prototype is done, to pay for a bunch of new bins.
so it sounds like the city's going to pay for it.
I'm
So
sorry.
leave it there then.
Leave it.
I can double and triple check, but this is a sanitation funded project. I mean, paid. for.
Okay.
Okay, we have to go, but we will meet again on Wednesday to do this with expense, which it seems will be much more challenging. So, here. And
I'll clean this up and get everything included and then send it back around for Wednesday.
thank you, Jesse. Thank you, everybody.
You're the best.
See you in a minute.
See you all in a bit.
Jesse, you still here?
I'm still here.
Can you send me the exec agenda again, please? I can't find it on my screen.
I will do so, yeah.